Chapter 9, Managing Stress, COVID Warriors. In this session, we will look at supporting our COVID warriors. Who is our COVID warriors? Our COVID warriors are healthcare workers who are supporting their families and their patients' families, and because they're doing multiple things at the same time, they experience high levels of stress during the pandemics like COVID-19. We do know our healthcare workers are under tremendous stress because the number of patients are increasing, the facilities is not sufficing the demand of the patients, and nowadays we are also seeing a lot of patients who are getting chronically ill, and we are also seeing them deteriorating. But do our healthcare workers only do their healthcare work? No, they do have their own personal life too. They manage their families, their children, parents, and other support system they play with, helping the patients' families, dealing with their anxieties, and the time of work which they do is stretching too much, and many of the times they do work overtime with no time for themselves. This can cause a syndrome called burnout, which happens because of chronic workplace stress, and this manifests as feeling very exhausted and feeling very cynical about their job, saying why did I even get into this field of being a healthcare worker. And because of all of these, there will be reduced professional efficiency. That is, they will not be able to concentrate much, they will not be able to sleep much, there will be irritability at work. The COVID warriors surely would need support in managing stress. But how do we go about it? So there are interventions to support the COVID warriors who are going through massive stress during this time of pandemic. Some of the interventions which we look at is teamwork, that is, good communication between the team, allotting enough of time at work and sharing work between the team members, establishing very good relationship between the team members, and sharing their things with their team and seeing how they can together as a team work together and maintain work-life balance and at the same time belonging at work. So how do they do that? So as a team, they bring in the ownership of all the work they do at the healthcare settings. And it's important that because they spend so much of time at work, that it is important that they establish good relationship within the workplace so that they can share their emotions, what they're going through then and there, instead of carrying it with them and having nobody to share. Just in case they don't have the time to share at workplace, or they don't feel connected to anybody in the workplace, then it is important that they connect through social media with their friends. Nowadays we do have lots of apps which will connect us to our loved ones virtually and to our friends virtually. So this is another way of venting out the emotions which we go through, which is causing stress. And we also know that all work can make Jack a dull boy. Similarly, if it is balanced, work and life is balanced. So what is work and life balance? You do have an equal proportion of time spent for your own self, that is a me time, even if it means 10 to 15 minutes, spending time with the loved ones, spending quality time with your loved ones, with your family members, helps you to contribute for yourself and in your personal life, and at the same time you're also doing your duty towards your patients, their families, and the satisfaction of that you have given time to your work, to yourself, and at the same time to your people in your life. Primary intervention starts at the organizational level. It is here the staff are all working for a particular healthcare settings in an organization. Who doesn't love an organization who takes care of their healthcare workers or staff well? If the organization is caring enough about their staff or the healthcare workers, in return, the organization benefits more because the healthcare workers are in fit emotionally and physically and mentally and will be able to do much more for their patients or their clients. So here we look at how organization can help in managing stress among the COVID warriors or healthcare workers. It may be an extremely busy day or an extremely busy week. There is no way they are able to get some time off. So that is when it becomes important that the organization looks at the primary aspect about how each of their staff members have friendly shift rotations so that they get at least a half a day to 1 day break and they come back with renewed energy, rested enough, and during the entire day of an hectic day, they ensure that at least some time a small regular break is given or the healthcare workers can take. And during this hectic schedule, a lot of the times there can be a new learnings which may be coming up, especially during pandemic like COVID-19. Every day emerges new learning and new interventions. So having a half an hour or 1 hour training in medical and technical skills helps the healthcare workers to take their mind off from their patients or other healthcare work which they're doing and concentrate on themselves to learn something new so that gives them a break. At the same time, they will be more equipped to take care of the patients well. And in this pandemic, we know that this is a contagious infection. So in this time, if any of their healthcare worker at the organization becomes infected with COVID-19, so the organization also supports the healthcare staff with a package, just not monetarily, but with support system from the organization and at the same time guide them, be there, and a wee feeling for the staff that the organization is always there. All these helps the healthcare workers so much that they know that they are not alone and they're backed by the organization which cares about them. All these also brings down to a large extent the stress they will be going through. In the previous slide, we looked at the primary interventions, which is at the organizational level. In this slide, we will look at the primary interventions at the individual level. So we're looking at food, exercise, some sunlight, and doing some basic yoga, and also to look at our mental health. So in this slide, we will look at what is healthy diet. World Health Organization talks about a healthy diet which helps protect against malnutrition in all its forms and also to protect against non-communicable diseases. So here, due to a lot of stress, we do know that the populations are getting highly diabetic, are also prone to heart diseases, stroke and hypertension. So we take care that the kind of healthy diet we eat helps us to protect against all of these. And it is also told it is just not about food, but if there is any unhealthy diet and if there is any lack of physical activity, which is also a risk to the health. So being a healthcare worker, it becomes important that you take care of the health of self, and it becomes very important that they maintain a healthy diet which is a balance of carbohydrates, protein and micronutrients in it, and get some sunlight at a regular time, because a lot of the times The healthcare workers go to work early in the morning, are so involved in their work, and by the time they come out of their work, it will be evening, late evening, it will already be dark, or already there is no sun there. It's become night and it is nightfall. So it becomes important that during the day, at least for some time, they come out in the sun, do some stretches, or at least go for a short walk for 5 to 10 minutes so they can absorb some sun, and include some kind of a daily schedule in their daily activities. So you kind of map your work according to the clock and do your work in such a way which you know what to do at what time. So that will bring in a discipline into your day-to-day regular work, and that when you're regular at your own work and doing your things according to the clock, it also brings down stress because you are adhering to the timetable which you have put in to yourself. And having a regular simple exercises, either walk or a small jog or a soft jog, or do some exercises, yogic exercises, helps, because when you're doing all of these, your breathing gets regulated, and that itself calms you to a large extent. And it also becomes important. Till now we were only looking at the physical health, so it also becomes important that how do you monitor your mental health in a way. Are you feeling irritable? Are you anxious? Or all of these is leading to fatigue? So it's important you monitor all of these also and take adequate support, seek adequate support so that you can remain healthy in a way where the stress does not bog you down. So these are some of the basic things at the individual level where you could do to take care of yourself. Primary intervention at individual level continues. There are more techniques to take care of oneself to combat stress. Here we are looking at few more techniques, that is, pace yourself, practice deep breathing techniques like pranayama, seek professional help if overstressed, spiritual practice, and limit use of alcohol, caffeine. So we do understand that to pace ourselves means we take adequate care that we don't overstress ourselves, we don't overtire ourselves, and we have a regime or have a disciplined way of allotting work to ourselves so that we have enough of time for ourselves and we are not hurried, which does not stress you up. And it becomes important that it is always told that your breathing will tell a lot about what is really happening to you. If you notice your own breathing, stop doing all your work for few seconds and just concentrate on your breathing. Is it going slow? Is it going calm? Or is it heavy? Or is it fast? So that will give you an indication that what is really happening to you. So when one practices deep breathing techniques like pranayama, it helps you regulate your mind in a way where you're concentrating on yourself at observing your own breath and breathing in and breathing out in slow pace helps you to calm down a lot during work. This will not take a long time. It could span between 1 to 3 minutes to 5 minutes, which this can be done multiple times in a day, which will really calm you and bring down the stress one is going through. With all of these also, if it is not coming down, so it becomes important to seek professional help. There is no stigma attached to take care of oneself. If you are not doing well, there is nothing you could do to others. So knowing and understanding that, seek out to a professional help who can support you in this time of stressful time of pandemic. If you are somebody who are a spiritual person, chanting mantras or sitting and meditating helps a lot in bringing down your stress levels. And a lot of the times when one is stressed, they either drink a lot of caffeine or at the end of the day to calm themselves totally and to come out or to forget the kind of stress which they have seen and the sadness they have seen. They drowse themselves into alcohol. So use both of it. High use of caffeine or alcohol might calm you down to a certain extent till the effect of it is there. But later on you still have to deal with everything else. So limit use of alcohol, caffeine helps a lot in taking care of yourself at the individual level. Primary interventions which continues with team and the family level. We are human beings. We all love to socialize. But sadly, this pandemic is not allowing us to socialize as we used to once upon a time. So it becomes very important that we still continue to connect with our colleagues, with our family, and our friends who are a great source of support, especially in a time when one is going through a lot of stress because of what is happening and the kind of work which you as healthcare workers are doing. And a lot of the times when we are sharing, it so happens that there can be some kind of loose talk or bad talk which we may not like to listen. So that is in your control about what you can listen and what you can share. So sharing something which will bring cheer, which will bring laugh, which will calm you down or your family members or your friends or your colleague helps just not you but also them. So try to create an atmosphere which is healthy, which does not bring any kind of bad breath, which will in turn bring in more stress. At the same time, all of us have such a habit of watching either television or our own personal gadgets now, like on the mobile phone or iPads or tabs. We keep watching and we just lose time as we are watching. So that also distresses us because we lack sleep watching so much. So it becomes important that we limit our watching of television or using bright screens and have good sleep so that it helps us regenerate and brings in good health and energy. A lot of the times, because the pandemic of COVID-19 is contagious of nature, a lot of times you cannot meet your family members, your team members or your close friends in person. But thanks to today's technology, we can, at a click of a button of any app, we can get into a video call and talk to them, look at them. It's as good as sitting at the front of each other and talking. Of course, it's virtual, but at least you're having a good interaction with them. So it becomes important to connect with family and friends virtually, even if you're quarantined, so that you don't lose the social touch. We do talk about social distancing, but here we're not going to talk about social distancing. We are not going to talk about anything else, but we will be looking at how this social connect helps in de-stressing with all the stress which is going on. And it is imperative, especially in times like this when everybody has a common issue like COVID-19 going on. There is so much of things which is moving on in each person's mind. So having a self-help groups which helps to identify a group of people who may be going through similar kind of issues, talking it out, sharing things, help in bringing down the anxiety level which a person may going through, which in turn causes stress, and help the person with necessary support which they would require, especially in the dire need of going through a lot of stress. And self-help groups is a great way of bringing down the stress because everybody in the group is going through similar kind of a situations, similar kind of a pain, and sharing this out helps one to bring down the stress, and sharing by itself or venting out by itself is very de-stressing. In the previous slides, we have discussed about primary interventions to combat stress from the organizational level, individual level, and team and family level. Now in this slide, we will look at secondary interventions, which in case any of the primary intervention hasn't helped, we look at the secondary interventions. Here we look at in case a person or a healthcare worker is already undergoing anxiety, depression, insomnia, and the primary intervention has not helped them, it becomes important that they contact a psychiatrist or a mental health professional and seek pharmacotherapy so that this can be adequately managed well. There is no stigma in taking care of one's mental health issues. It becomes important that one manages suicidal tendencies. Suicidal tendencies most of the time come when you're under high stress and you don't know how to manage it. You don't know whom to go to seek help, a sense of helplessness, and at the same time, sometimes there could be an underlying trauma or a psychological issues which has gone unnoticed, and in this high stress, this is being manifested. But help is always at hand, you are never alone. It becomes important to confess or tell somebody whom you trust who can help you out. There is always help at hand. And if you are already seeing a psychiatrist for helping yourself to combat anxiety, depression, you can confess or you can seek help from the same psychiatrist. Many of the times we have seen when there is high stress, there is an high use of tobacco, alcohol, or usage of mild drugs. All of these can calm one down when one is taking it, and at the same time till that remains in the body. Afterwards, it does not help much, but it in fact helps in deteriorating one's health. So it becomes important that one gets hold of this and seek help to reduce it or to be more disciplined about this use. But at the same time, it is important that one looks at quitting it completely so that it helps maintain good health of you as healthcare workers who are so precious to this country. Simple psychological techniques like pushing away unhelpful thoughts which is troubling you and converting them into helpful thoughts. That is a technique which can be learned, and each time there is an unhelpful thought which comes in, you push that out and bring in some helpful thoughts of the particular situation which will help you cope. And this will also help one to sleep well, maintain one's hygiene, that is taking bath every day and keeping oneself clean and nice and having a routine to sleep, so at least you catch up with 7 to 8 hours of good sound sleep, so you get a fresh and energetic to tackle the next day. And as we already spoke in the previous slides, that human beings are social beings, it becomes important that you seek your social support, have a social circle where you know whom to contact when you need support. And stigma to COVID is becoming more and more common because of the fear of somebody getting infected with COVID. So addressing this issue of stigma becomes very important, that there is no fear when one takes care of primary precautions, so one does not get infected with COVID at that time. And many of the times when one, as a healthcare worker, you have to take decisions about what to do to your patients, especially at the end of life decisions, the stress can be extremely high and it can continue for days. It's important you seek support, external support, to combat these kind of stress which you go through, which is going to affect your day-to-day routine work. So in all, we are looking at seeking support, external support to manage your stress levels. We continue to look at secondary intervention in this slide too, but in this slide we are going to focus on when to refer a person for psychological help. We look at people with high suicidal risk. If a person has thoughts of ending their life or suicidal thoughts between 2 and 4 to 5 times a day, we can say the person is at high suicidal tendency and risk and can harm themselves or kill themselves. This kind of person surely would need psychiatric and psychological help. The psychiatrist there will take care by medicating them, and the psychologist will help them in therapy to bring down the issues which the person is facing. A person can be violent or aggressive in behavior. All these happens when the coping mechanism of stress is no more there. If they're completely overstressed and don't know what to do, and social interactions with their loved ones become very less, they're not able to meet their circle of people whom they regularly meet, are not able to do the things which they have been regularly doing, can bring in violent aggressive behavior along with some underlying issues which the person may have been going through. And if the substance abuse of alcohol, tobacco or any drugs have increased substantially, here too the person needs to be referred for psychological help. And we also see during this pandemic, we have seen people with underlying mental health issues or people who already have manifestation of mental health issues. The symptoms have aggravated because the everyday atmosphere of what they used to live or the environment which they used to live in has changed so drastically. This also impacts the person on their mental health issues, and there could be severity of mental illness. And because of the pandemic, lot of the patients are not able to meet their doctor or the psychiatrist in person, or due to the lockdown they are not able to go and see the psychiatrist whom they used to see at regular time, and there is no social touch which was there. All of these also can aggravate a person's mental health, and symptoms of high to severe mental health illness can be manifested. When there is no more improvement on primary and secondary interventions, it becomes imperative that the patient is referred to psychological and psychiatrist help. All of these is not to stigmatize the person, but to help the person, to support the person, to take care of themselves and support them to come back to regular, happy, good life, to a healthy life. In this slide, we will look at life skills to cope with stress. It is not new to us that life skills have been taught to us from the school days, and even before the school days, I think very unknowingly, each of the human beings have used these life skills to lead a life or to start a life of quality. From the time a child is young, they have used life skills, knowingly or unknowingly, by connecting and bonding with people, and as they've grown, connected by communicating, taking challenges, and the courage, optimism, building in empathy into their lives, critical thinking, creativity, decision making, and problem solving. Applying these life skills on looking at them with a newer lens during these challenging times helps in coping with stress, and it also helps in developing resilience. Resilience is not something which all of us have been born with. Resilience is built over time with the hardship each one of us have coped with, and bouncing back each time a hardship was once down. And adapting well and bouncing back in this time of stress is the mantra to build resilience. And to top it all, humor always brings in an added advantage to cope with stress. Who hasn't heard about the line, laughter is the best medicine? We all know about it, we've been hearing about it. So, a good laugh helps in bringing down anxiety, stress, fear, disappointments. It can also resolve conflicts. And at the same time, a good laugh or humor brings and keeps your spirits up during this challenging time. So there is a lot of ways, thanks to the technology, to find humor. Simple things like TikTok videos, funny memes, all helps to reduce our stress during this time of challenging time of COVID pandemic. Everything which becomes a threat has to come down someday. So adding humor, building your life skills to cope with stress, and adding primary interventions for self and sharing with team and family level, looking at yourself as an important being helps in cope with stress. In case you're not able to cope with stress, help is always at hand. All that you need to do is to seek for help, and you will be able to receive help and lead a happy, healthy life without any stress. Thank you for completing this chapter 9 on managing stress on COVID warriors. If you have any questions, feel free to write to us on the email ID which has been given. Thank you.